Welcome to this edition of the Hoel Roofing Remodeling Podcast. Today, we're getting back into doing some team member spotlights, and a special guest is Mr. Cameron Roberts. Cameron's been with us since November of 22.
Yes.
So going on 15, 16 months or so, maybe October.
Yeah.
So let's just kind of talk here, Cam, about you moved into a newer role for you into business development. That's why you look so sharp and dressed up. And let's just kind of talk like your journey to find Hoel Roofing and why you stay here. And let's just tell us a little bit about your family. I know you're a young man and no kids or anything like that quite yet. So just take a minute to introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Cam. I work here at Hoel Roofing with business development. I found Bob on a YouTube video actually about 18 months ago now, and he just really popped up. I was really into roofing sales. I found him and I really liked what they had going on for him. So I gave him a call, and luckily he gave me a call back, gave me a shot. Now here I am.
That's funny you say that, because I remember when Ellie brought your name and your number, and I was like, Ellie, I don't hire reps that come from other companies.
Yeah.
And I went to throw it away, and I didn't. So,
Remember you telling me about that.
There are no accidents.
Nope, not at all.
So let's just kind of talk, you've been around the whole roofing and remodeling family now for a year and a half. Let's just say that. And, I guess, let's be honest, there's 500 roofing companies in Indiana. So what is unique about our culture, our team, that, you feel like, this is the place that God is calling you to be at right now?
There's a lot that can go into that answer. Something about you and your family is just what really draws me here. And not even just like your actual biological family, like the family that you've built here as a team, whether it be, in marketing, production, or even sales. Like everybody just feels like family here. And that's what I really like about it, honestly. Like I have a good relationship with everybody in the company. I feel like I know everybody pretty well on a personal level. And we all, work together to achieve a common goal. And that's what I really like about it. It's family oriented.
Well, and that goes back to like me and Emily, we hold the integrity, we hold the space, we hold the energy, however you want to look at that. But that's when everybody else has to step in. Yes, me and Emily can give the platform, but it's showing up for each other, whatever that looks like. It's going all in at a team retreat. Like I said, at the end of the day, it's just like, our core values, generosity, compassion, that kind of stuff. Like I could say that, me and Emily could say that all day long, but if you don't have them qualities, like, there's some people that tried to interview here that just didn't fit in. It's just because, there is a unique culture team that, we do have something special here. And it's as much credit to you guys as a team as it is to me and Emily, because we couldn't hold it together if, we didn't have quality people, on our team.
Yeah, absolutely. I love working here. It's a great environment. I think a lot of companies struggle with, having a good environment for people to work in. It's really hard to leave here at the end of the day. Every Monday when I come in here, I get to see all these nice people and everything, and I always got some help when I need it. So
wasn't talking about me when you said nice people. Maybe Ellie, maybe Emily, not Bob. You got to meet with me every Monday morning. So
I look forward to it.
You walked in with one shoe on this morning. And I yelled at Gimp, come here and get me a bottle of water.
Just hobbled right over. But yeah, a lot plays into that. It's, the environment, like I said, but also the tools that you and Emily have set before us, like taking us to that training was really beneficial to, I think, a lot of our, personal development. And you provide stuff for us, not just here in the office, but you provide opportunities for us to help better our families, whether it be Financial Peace University or the Journey to Nobody training.
Well, and that's one thing that I've always said is like, I want a leadership company that we happen to sell roofing, siding, gutters, remodeling exteriors, or remodeling, etc. But I mean that, like, when we say, like, I want to pour into you guys, because I genuinely want you going home to be better husbands, boyfriends, sons, fathers, community members, like it, you're coaching wrestling still, right?
Season just ended.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did.
Yeah.
I was like, oh crap, that's going to be bad if but like, I didn't make you. Like, I encourage you guys to give back, brag on Nick, Chris, and Cody. I got a letter in the mail from some baseball league or something in Shelbyville thanking us for the sponsorship. Them guys pitched in, put it under Hoel Roofing and Remodeling, and I got the thank you letter. So, I keep saying, we can lay the groundwork, but you've got to take the notion. It's not like I pay you to go coach, wrestling, and you have no idea like the impact of them kids' lives. And I know I see a little bit more of it because when I coached, it was here in Rushville, a lot smaller town, but it's so cool to see I'll never forget Dylan Kennedy was the first kid I coached that called me about putting a roof on his house. I was like, not old enough for me to have a ability to put a roof on your house, but it's just cool to watch them, and watch them grow up. And now he's got a little son, and that's a lot of fun. That's what gets me and Emily out of bed. It's not selling 20 more roofs this week. I want to, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, so talk about wrestling, like why you coach wrestling, maybe I believe you wrestled in high school, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I coached a little bit of my best friend in high school's little brother. His dad actually discipled me in high school, so I have a pretty close relationship with him and his family. It was like an aside coaching, so I'd go out there and I would just support him and kind of give him some tips, in between matches and stuff at tournaments. And then hopefully next year I'll be actually coaching at the high school. But yeah, I don't know, I wrestled in high school, and the sport did a lot for me in terms of, discipline, determination, and kind of figuring out, a lot of the time you'll hear from wrestlers is if you can wrestle, you can do anything. And I truly do believe that, you can overcome a lot of adversity through that. And I personally like seeing the personal development of the high school kids. They get into high school, they're just little teeny freshmen, and then they grow up and they graduate as seniors. They get a lot bigger, stronger, not just physically, but also, mentally, and they're out to go, take on the world after that. And I just like to see that personal development throughout the 4 years.
Well, and that's cool that, you're giving back to a kid that his dad, that seriously, that is that's the best thing. When you can, I don't know, man, it's just as a business owner or, as a parent now that we have 3 kids, you want quality people around your kids.
Yeah.
I literally was just texting Nick and I was like, I'm excited when he has a little boy on the way. Chris has little Kylo.
Yeah.
Cody has Joey. Mm-hmm. You imagine 3 or 4 little shits like Rhett running around there, running their mouths. You talk about being fun. You imagine how competitive and mouthy them guys are going to be. Them boys are, my dad's better than your dad at selling roofs, But seriously, that's a blast. And I want to be intentional of surrounding people. And I even say this, especially when we're interviewing girls or females, I want them to feel safe. And I know one day that my daughters are going to be here. Mm-hmm. So if I ever hear anybody saying anything to anybody that works here that I don't want them to say that to my daughter, I've had to have conversations with a couple people, unfortunately. Yeah. They don't work here anymore. Mm-hmm. It's
Absolutely.
I want, my kids are going to look up to you guys. They see you guys so much, especially today. They're out of school with President's Day. So, especially in the summer. So, that's just, it's important for the quality of people. But, it's also we have to know in our hearts that when we send somebody out to represent us, that they're representing us well, And Absolutely. I also always say this during interview processes is I want the spouse to believe in us just as much because there's days that, we try to make this work environment fun. However, it's work. And there's some days it's stressful. There's some days you get kicked in the teeth and you got to keep going, you know? So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But so that's awesome on the wrestling. So what other hobbies kind of, just talked a little bit, you say about, if financial piece, like, what have you learned here, or maybe been challenged by me and Emily, that you feel like is setting you up for success, not just here, but down the road, like professionally,
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit, I'm going to take us a little bit back, actually. So when I first started, I was in a dark place. I had really nothing to my name at all. Actually, Bob was able to bless me with a couple gas vouchers when I first started, and I didn't know anything about financials at all. I had no idea. I had no idea where to start, how to save, and Bob ended up putting a lot of us through Financial Peace University with Dave Ramsey. And from there, that taught me, kind of like the baby steps. And I don't remember all of them specifically, but I do know that it allowed me to, get the first $1,000 saved, put away, not even thinking of for emergencies. And then secondly, I've been rolling money into debt. So I've been paying off my debt. And then after all the debt's paid off, I'm looking at opening up like a Roth IRA so that I can set myself up for the future. And then, continuing down with those baby steps. So that's something that I also have been able to take away from here is, I came from nothing, and now I have something with the help from Bob and Emily here. So, yeah.
Well, we gave you the tools, but you went and implemented it.
True.
I've said that. We just had a young family that me and Emily mentored that paid off a lot of debt. And, I'll be honest, I've given that class to a lot of people, and some people have taken advantage of it. And a lot of people haven't, unfortunately. So, it's no different than the opportunity we give for somebody to work here, no matter what role it's in. Like, if you grab the bull by the horns and go, like, there's tons of, opportunity and potential there. So, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, I freaking woke up this morning and just, I'm trying to wash it down with a freaking monster. So, that really helps a lot. But so Cam, what other hobbies do you have? Like, what's some future goals?
So we're talking future goals, like outside of work or with work?
Yeah.
I would say with work, really all I'm focused on this year is developing good relationships with people, not just for business, but you never know what those relationships can bring you down the road. That's something that I'm looking forward to work. It's just learning how to communicate better with people and how to develop healthier and better relationships. I guess a couple goals for the future is at the end of this year, I'd like to have all my student debt paid off, and I'm about a third of the way there right now. So that'd be an awesome goal for the end of this year. And then looking down the next 5 years, I would like to be looking at potentially getting into some real estate and getting my first house. So nice. Something I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
Any plans to get married anytime soon, anything like that?
Yeah.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Yeah. I think Katie and I will be looking at getting married probably in the next 2 to 3 years, for being realistic. She wants to finish school, and something about Katie is she's a real trooper. She's never pulled out a loan ever.
Nice.
So she's taking it slower than normal, but she's also paying for it as it comes. So that's something that I look up to Katie. What she does. She's an absolute trooper, and I would just say pull out the loan back in the day. But yeah, so right now we're just trying to be smart with our financials. And
where'd that get you, Cam?
Not very far at first. But,
student loan debt with no degree, right?
Yeah, no degree, no. But I got a hell of a job, so.
No, and kudos for her. And I'll preach this, like, that's so important for a couple to be on the same page financially. I mean, naturally, you're going to attract the opposite. However, and Dave Ramsey says a spender needs a saver and a saver needs a spender. So even if one of you likes to spend a little more, it's okay as long as you're on the same page about it, because that's why me and Emily are so passionate about the Dave Ramsey principles and the personal finance in the high schools. It's especially girls, they'll go get student loans and then they'll have a baby when they're 25 and they'll have $100,000 in debt. And they won't be able to be a stay-at-home mom, even though they want to be, because of all the student loan debt. And if I get it, everybody's in that stage, and when you're 18, you don't know what you want to do. And as a country, as a culture, we're piping it down your throat. You have to know what you want to do when you grow up. And I say this all the time. I'm 36, almost 37. I still don't know what the hell I'm going to do when I grow up, Cam. I don't know if I ever plan on growing up, but I still don't know what I want to do. So
yeah, that's one thing. Definitely, being young, 22 years old, growing up in Fishers, Indiana, a big thing in that area is, you have to go to college to be successful, or you have to go out into the trades, which isn't necessarily true. You know, a lot of people I know drop out of school. I mean, you see colleges nowadays, they're having higher and higher percentage rates of dropouts within the first 2 years. And that's just one thing that I think people really need to take a step back and really think about it. And if they really don't know what they want to do, then just wait and figure it out.
How did you get into sales, Cam?
Oh, wow.
I know this story, so I just want you to tell it.
So I've always had a passion for sales, whether it be doing stuff like e-commerce online in high school or at least trying to.
So what'd you sell?
I used to sell like makeup products online in high school.
I did not know this.
Yeah, so I used to basically, it was called drop shipping. It was, I wouldn't say it's a scam. I wouldn't say it's the smartest way to make money, but you know, as an eager 16-year-old kid, I was like, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And yeah, didn't even have my driver's license yet. So basically what I would do is I would import makeup products from China, and then I would sell them at a marked up price on a website that I designed pretty poorly. And it didn't really work out too well. But
so how much did you sell?
I'd say probably like 2,000 max back in high school, which is pretty good for a high schooler. But yeah, I was running really crappy Facebook advertisements and everything, and I quickly realized I really needed a real job to actually pay for the advertising. And yeah, so that's how I got into sales.
So do you have any of this product left, Cam?
No, I used it all, actually, unfortunately. So, but that's a little background on Cam's sales experience from high school.
You know, the crazy thing is, like, nobody wants to talk about their failures. And literally, like, me and Emily's talked about some of ours. And just the other day, and now I'm drawing a blank now that I'm getting ready to try to tell this story, of something else that me and Emily tried that didn't work. And she's like, that's funny. We haven't really talked about that a whole lot. So, I mean, honestly, I didn't even know that you had done that, you know, until I'm asking you, like, you know. Because I'm thinking, if you want to get on my daughter's good side, you could bring fake China freaking makeup, you know, and they would, you know, love the heck out of that. So, no, that is that is awesome. Did you try anything else? Yeah,
so actually, when I got to college, I had a vintage clothing business that I had, and that actually was pretty good. That's where I kind of had my first, I call it a small victory, but in reality that was like, that really told me that I could do this, this whole sales thing, or, you know, talking to people. It's way more than just sales. I would basically hold up these like pop-up events all around town in Muncie. We'd go to like concerts and stuff, and I would just sell t-shirts that I got from Goodwill for like 99 cents. So yeah, and there's a big market for it, but I enjoyed that. So that was one of my first big victories until I found roofing, and then I was able to get into roofing sales, and then now business development. So
tell the story about roofing sales, because I think it's kind of
like all the way back from before this.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Because like I remember you telling me that, you know, it was that there was a guy, and you don't have to really say names and companies and stuff, but that was advertising like make more money than a doctor, and you know, go ahead.
So I worked for another company in the city, and basically I saw an advertisement on, I believe it was Facebook, and it was some guy pulling up in a Lamborghini, and he's like, do you want to make more money than a doctor or a lawyer? Come work for us. And I gave the number a call, and that's how I got into door-to-door sales.
So was it his Lamborghini, or did he rent it?
He rented it.
Okay.
Actually, he rented it and didn't take it out of the parking lot because he got the discounted price.
I just want to like point that out. Yeah. Where like you were chasing money there for a second. Mm-hmm. We've all done it. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
I remember I tried a couple side businesses. It was purely for money. Whenever I was probably close to your age, and I lost my shirt. However, like you mentally, like you got to try a few things and then realize, okay, you know, life's bigger than just me making a lot of money. Like I want to make money. I want to set my family up for success. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So no, whenever you told me that, I kind of chuckled. So go ahead, Cam.
So yeah, that's how I got into it. You know, here's the thing about that is getting into that job. A lot of people would be like, "Oh, that was terrible," but you know, in reality, like that job led me here to where I am today. And not only that, but it really taught me how to step out of my comfort zone. And that's a big thing for me. You know me, I hate getting out of my comfort zone. And it's grown on me. I'm getting a lot better at it. And sometimes I'll give you a call and you'll be like, Cam, you're in your head too much. I'm like, you're right.
Well, and dude, we all have to get over our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if it's Adam, if it's me, it's you, if it's Emily. You know, like, I naturally will put myself in to get out of my comfort zone just because I know how much it will push me. However, like, you know, yes, there is times that you call me and I'm like, Cam, like the other day you called me, you're like, hey, I think another roofer is at this insurance agent's office. And I was like, why? You're like, there's a dump trailer here. I'm like, you're in Brookville, Indiana. My dad used to have a dump trailer, and he's the furthest thing from a roofer. And you went in there, and it wasn't a roofer. It was somebody paying their bill, you know. So, like, I get it, man. Like, you know, this is stuff that we talked about, like, don't assume things and whatnot. But that's, you know, absolutely. Like, if we all would get out of our comfort zone more, like, that's really the crazy thing is, like, that's the only way you know our boundaries. And then we realize real quick that our boundaries are completely in our head.
Yeah.
Absolutely completely in our head.
Yeah.
Like, the biggest thing holding whole roofing remodeling back right now is Bob and Emily. Biggest thing pushing them is Bob and Emily, you know. So, but no, that's like I said, whenever you share that story about the Lamborghini, and that's why I had to ask, like, did he rent it? Because, I mean, that's another thing is, like, you can look fancy and sexy on Facebook and not have absolute, you know, anything. And, you know, you're right. Like, I actually knocked doors, believe it or not. I was waiting for my my first full-time job out of college to start. So I went and knocked doors for Unique Home Solutions. But I actually worked for pretty much a subcontractor for them. And we got paid X amount of dollars. I think it was $90 per appointment set, 100% straight commission. And the company kept $30 out. And I think as a sales rep, we made $60. But we'd have to knock on your door, find out if you're interested in, you know, windows or whatever. And then we'd have to call into their call center and say, hey, this is Bob over here. And I don't even remember the company I worked for. And I've got, you know, Miss Louise over here at 2214, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's interested in a window demo.
Yeah.
And then they would get on the phone and they would have to pre-qualify them. So I would have to pre-qualify people, make sure they actually own the house and stuff like that. So I look back and it's hilarious because I was taking a job in environmental consulting. Nothing to do with, you know, construction or sales.
Yeah.
I was born a salesman. My dad always told me growing up, like, you're going to be a salesman. And it's funny because one thing that I really like, I try to be very conscious. I try to be more conscious in life in general now since we went through the journey of nobody training. But I really try to watch what I say to my kids.
Yeah.
Because you will look back and be like, and I remember when my dad said this. And I don't care if it's positive or negative, you know. So I want to be very conscious on, like, pouring into my kids. But it's kind of funny. I was told my whole life I was going to be a salesman. Then I became a salesman, you know.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're watching this, and be careful. Like, and also, what do you tell yourself? You know.
Like, what do I tell myself in the mirror every day, or what do you mean?
I mean, you maybe watch what you say. But no, I'm just, and you can share that. I'm just saying in general, like, what are you telling yourself? What are you being conscious about every day?
So, I mean, after the training, I would say a lot of it was like self-confidence and, you know, really getting out of my shell, believing in myself. So, you know, I pretty much just look at myself. I'm like, you got this. Be confident. You know you can do it. That's something that I've always struggled with, was confidence. And that's something that the journey of nobody really helped me to figure out, was like, how can I be more confident? Or I just got to dig deeper to find it, right? It's in there. I just got to bring it up.
Well, and I mean, the one thing that I feel like the journey to nobody training taught me and really taught all of us is, like, there's only one way through our bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's to go right through it.
Yeah,
like,
right there.
We avoid it. It doesn't help anything. You know, it's like you got to walk right through it, you know, and you got to be okay with dealing with it. And, you know, once again, you talk about getting out of your comfort zone. Like, that is getting out of your comfort zone, you know. To me, like, you know, me hiring more people, like, the amount of stress that I put on myself when I look at, like, our team and, like, the people that are on salary, it's like, holy cow, am I really responsible for that many people? You know, like, because then I look, and fortunately some of the team's young and there's no kids, but then when you have Ellie that has a herd of kids, and it seems like all of our sales guys are starting a family right now, you know what I mean? Like,
growing.
And no, it's their responsibility to perform, and, you know, I'm not naive. Like, God is what's provided for this and all that. I'm just a vessel here, but still, like, I genuinely look at the team like, okay, Ellie's got several mouths to feed at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's getting married to Bryce. Like, she's not sole dependent on us.
Yeah.
Just hired Jonathan a few months ago, and he's got 3 little ones at home and a stay-at-home wife.
Yeah.
So, like, one day you're going to get married. One day Adam's going to get married, And, so, and then especially, like, when the little ones come in, it's like, oh, man, like, I'm part of that little one's legacy, positive or bad. Like, I want them to have a positive, like, oh, my gosh, I remember, Dad, when you worked for Bob, and, like, little Levi just came in and sold us some eggs. Like, I try to be intentional. I just ran into Ellie at Walmart, and I seen her and Graham, and Graham went home and told his dad, hey, we saw that guy that beat me up at snow tubing. I don't remember beating him up at snow tubing, but to me that means that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I've noticed about you, Bob, is something I really like about you is I know that you have a lot of people that you've worked with in the past, and no matter you're working with them or not, you still have a good relationship with them, and that's something that I really think a lot of people struggle with is like, oh, if I leave this company, then I'm not going to have this relationship with people. And everywhere I go in this area, I just know people are always like, oh, you work for Bob? I'm like, yeah, I work for Bob. Oh, Bob did this for me years back ago, or back when he was like a teenager. It's like, yeah, I mean, you got that effect on people. So that's something about legacy is like, when I think of legacy, obviously I want to have my own legacy, but I look at people like you and I'm like, wow, like that's a legacy that I want to leave. Obviously have my own parts of my own, but that's a big thing. And I mean, there's always room at the top. You know what I mean? Like, and I just, I want to be a part of a lot of story. I want to be a part of a lot of legacies. And for me, especially in a small town, like I want to build a business the size of people said I couldn't, just because there's that worldly part of me. It's like, I will show you what I said I can do. Absolutely.
But to me, it's way bigger than that now. It's I tell this story. When we hired Ellie, she was working 2 full-time jobs. And do I pay Ellie a ton of money? No. But I pay her enough that she could quit working 2 full-time jobs to go home and be a mom at night.
Absolutely.
And like, down the road, even with Ellie here, there's a chance to hire another single mom maybe. And you talk about like giving them a fun and enjoyable, work life that, that they show up with a smile on their face, and it takes so much to keep this rolling. Like it takes Ellie answering the phone after hours. It takes Adam getting a lead from Google at 9:00. It takes sales reps working ungodly hours. It takes you working extra hours. It takes production. You never know what hours they're working. And that's like, people see the success. And, literally ran into a guy the other day that I went to high school with his sister. He's a few years older than me, and he lives over a couple counties over now. But he's just like, oh, my gosh, like, you guys have really blown up. And I was like, yeah, we got a badass team, and I mean that. Like, we can't do this podcast without Adam. Like, if I tried to set that up over there, we'd talk for an hour, and it wouldn't be recorded. Like, so like, and there, like I said, there's Jonathan getting the job scheduling, and then there's all the subcontracting crews that we're using that, that is a whole nother, you talk about a legacy there, like, not to go down a rabbit hole, but like some people will squall about Hispanic labor. They're just here to try to make a living. Like they're just trying to provide for the family. And they're willing to do the work that me and you don't want to do.
Absolutely.
And you talk about a legacy, like you're a part of that legacy of them people that sounds really bad, but of the crews that we hire and their kids. Like, like Kenya and Edgar been with us 5 years, and they have Kenya's got a daughter, and then Edgar and Kenya has a daughter, and Perla, Kenya's daughter, which Edgar claims her, but she is so proud of that whole roofing and remodeling sweatshirt. Like, I mean, it's funny, like there'll be a picture on Facebook and Emily will comment, I like the sweatshirt, and she's like, she won't take it off, like, and that takes such a big part. And just for just a small part of like there's so many of us in that small part. So
absolutely.
And I want to take a minute to thank you, Cam, because you came in as a sales role. It just wasn't the best fit for everybody. And you were humble enough to take the business development role over. And I know that wasn't necessarily like the easiest thing. However, I think you sat back and evaluated that, okay, to be part of this team, like I can take this part and run with it. And that's the hardest part about a team, is to get everybody to realize that Adam's job is as important as Ellie's, as important as Nick's, as important as Jonathan's. Like, I say this so many times that you guys probably get tired of me hearing it, but if marketing does their job, sales does their job, production does their job, it's back to marketing, sales, production. Mm-hmm. It's a wheel that's spinning, and the faster we can get it rolling, the more opportunities for you, and eventually you could build a team under you. Marketing could get bigger here in the company. Sales is of course always going to get bigger. Production, just got to hire Tyler in, single dad of a 2-year-old young lady that just come in and worked his ass off for us. Like that means a lot. Like, and once again, there's a single dad that is willing to come in and work hard, and he just wants to be able to provide for his girl. Like, we need more men like that in this country.
Absolutely.
So, that's what gets me excited. But back to you, Cam. What else? So, want to pay off some debt this year. And I know you're wanting to save up for a house, sooner than later.
Yeah.
You're 22 years old.
Yeah.
Man, if you just save up until like you're 25 and have a pile of cash, like, I mean, seriously, dude, you'll like be so far ahead in life. What any fun, unique facts that we didn't talk about today?
There's definitely a lot going on with me, I would say. Or maybe not enough. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm only 22 right now. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of stories that can be uncovered at some points, but maybe we shouldn't go into all of them tonight.
Well, and you're running your own race. Like, you're running Cam's race. Like, don't worry about somebody else your age. Like, for me, like, honestly, like, sometimes I look up and I'm like, that guy's roofing company's bigger than mine. And then, and sometimes they're 10 years younger than me, and sometimes they're 20 years older. And it's like, eventually you just got to like, okay, this is the race that God's called me to run right now. Like, I've just got to be obedient and roll with, with that, whatever that looks like,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I, what's my train of thought? I'm sorry.
Cam not be able to say anything. That's a rarity.
I guess that's one fact is I have severe ADHD. So sometimes Bob has to be like, Cameron, I need you to focus on this right now. Write it down, whatever you got to do. And that's something that, I've learned.
You've gotten better.
I've definitely gotten
when
better.
you first started, I'm like, Cam, you with me here, buddy?
And like, what do you say?
You're like, man, I haven't slept in like 2 days. I'm like, Cam, that's not healthy. So, are you still on that medicine?
I'm not. So I don't know. I stopped taking it just for personal reasons regarding my diet wasn't good. I kind of felt like when I was in front of customers or now insurance agents, like they weren't getting the real authentic Cam. So one thing that I think, people can always do is you can get better at listening, communicating, being on task, right? And I don't think medicine in that circumstance is always the answer. I think it's just like, sometimes you just got to grow up and mature and do it.
No, and I admire you and I appreciate you doing that, because we had that conversation, and I'm not saying there's not a place for medication.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, as a country, we've just let's medicate this, let's medicate that, let's medicate this. When I was a kid, I had ADHD too, and they just called it being a boy.
Yeah.
I mean? Like, boys we're not wired to sit in a desk for 8 hours. Like, no. That's just not how God's created us, And I'm kind of glad that I feel like we're finally getting back to that. Like, that's why, if you see Rhett shooting something, tearing something up. Like, I want to wring his neck. However, I want him to be a boy, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's just like when Joey comes in and he's loud and runs through the office like he owns the place. Like, I love it because it's like, all right, Joey's being a boy.
Yeah.
Like, he's just, you know, and yeah, that's what we need. But kudos for that because, like I said, I jokingly when I said, hey, Cam, are you here? But like I'm like, man, and you know, at first I didn't quite feel like I had enough. I don't know. I don't want to say respect from you, but maybe enough trust from you to be like, hey, Cam, quit taking that crap. You know,
Yeah.
There's just a lot of horror stories in that.
There really is. And I know one thing is too, like, I was getting caught up in, you know, just, you know, like I said, not being authentically myself. And that's something that Bob is really big on, is be authentic to yourself, you know, like show people the authentic you. And that's something that I really tried to lean into this last year, especially while hopping off the medication, is, you know, personal development, you know, being better at communicating, being organized, staying on task, but also being myself. At the end of the day, that's what people want to know. That's who I am, not just someone with personality.
Just not with the green booty shorts, though, Cam.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna have Adam like flash the picture of you in them shorts in during this. Adam closed his eyes, so now Adam is just got an image in his mind he's never gonna get out. So.
Maybe sometimes I show too much of myself. We'll say that.
No, I mean, like go be yourself, and that is one thing that I talked to you when you first started. Like, you really, really, really wanted to fit in Rushville, Indiana, and I'm like, Cam, be you. Like,
yeah.
Nick came in. Nick is Nick. Chris is Chris. Even Goofy Chris is Goofy Chris. Like, we love him for that, you know. And like, I genuinely like. I want, like, that's what makes our team so special, because like, you know, yeah, I'm an old farm kid, you know, but not everybody that works here has to, you know. I mean, you've come out on the farm and ran the skid loader, ran the mini excavator. You know, my 5-year-old daughter's teaching you how to run the mini. You know, I mean, that's cool for me to be able to like.
Yeah.
To let you, you know, let you experience that even after you wrecked that really nice truck of mine, Cam. So, but no, as we wrap up, Cam, like any final words, any final encouragement, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a viewer watching this, like I said, you know, coming through adversity is hard, but you just got to dig deep within. Something that I personally struggled with, that I opened up with, was, you know, like confidence, right? Really being, you know, confident in yourself. Like, this is probably, you would ask me 12 months ago, this would have been real hard for me to get on camera and talk about this. So that's kind of just my words of encouragement, you know, like really lean into the authentic self of you. Really look forward to the legacy that you want to leave. And then also think about how you play a part in other people's legacy as well.
Well, Cam, we appreciate you on the team. We appreciate you taking the time to sit down. So if you're watching this, you're a realtor, insurance agent, property development person, Cam's probably going to be calling on you. So, you know, I'll tell him not to wear the green shorts. But no, we appreciate you guys listening in, and have a great day.
Thanks.